Otherwise, I'd have to bring you down to earth too. I know this verse hurts you. I tell you what, I give you advice. I'm feeling nice. Your vices could influence your writing if you weren't biting. Y'all trying to be people that.
Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. All right, so let's talk about Edge and Seth Rollins. So this feud is heavily based on the past, and that's very good. That's very, very good. I love when they utilize the past. WWE is doing a good job lately of utilizing the past, of reminding people of the characters. For instance, when Sami Zayn came out, they started talking about how he was like the mad scientist and how he, handcuffed Jeff Hardy to the ladder and everything. I thought that was fucking cool. That's very cool to remind people that that's the kind of dastardly stuff we can expect from Sami Zayn. And then, of course, he doesn't get to pull off any of it. But in this situation, Edge is very, very, very mad at Seth Rollins. And he cuts this promo. He basically says that he planned for just about everything. He planned for the Usos. He knew the Usos were going to interfere. He had the backup plan with the Mysterios. He didn't plan for Seth. And he says that, maybe he thought, and he worked us through his thought process, that Seth would want him to win because Seth should think beating him is easier than beating Roman. But apparently he doesn't think so. And he says that, this thing with me and Seth Rollins goes back to 2014 when he had the opportunity to finish the job and he couldn't do it. And he says now he's going to wish he had, because he doesn't know the Pandora's box of mental pain and anguish that he's opened. And then he starts talking about how, all these evil people that he learned from. He said, I was in the Brood. I was in the Ministry of Darkness. I'm like, man, Edge is really leaning to how old he is. Because there'll be a lot of people like, the Brood. I ain't heard about them since 1990. What was that? 1998. Edge is an old man, and he starts talking about like you have no idea the depths I can sink to make you suffer. And then Seth comes out cackling as usual, laughing, and says that Edge is once again talking about who he used to be. And then he says that guys like you come back from the great beyond, and you jump the line. You steal opportunities from people like me. He referred to him as Grandpa Edge. He said, you've always been a scumbag to me, and nothing will make me happier than to end your fairy tale comeback. He says, I had the chance to end it 7 years ago, and I chose not to. I hesitated. But next time, I'm going to do it. And he started saying bang, bang, and dancing around him and talking about popping his neck, going bang, bang on his neck. And then they got into a fight, obviously. So this was smart. There was some contact, but there wasn't a lot of contact, which is always good. I don't want them fighting every week. This should be the last time they have contact, because they fought Sunday too. So no stupid tag team matches, no stupid 6-man tags. Just save it. Don't let them fight too much. So we're talking about Seth Rollins and who he used to be, and we're talking about Edge and who he used to be. So a good angle for this, because they're the same character essentially. I haven't done the archetype video yet, and I actually stopped mid-process because I was doing the research and everything. They're both in the mental archetype known as the Magician. I'm pretty sure I haven't done it yet. But there's also some Enneagrams, and I should have done those. But the Enneagrams are like personality profiles. And they were both, I'm guessing, oh God, what was it? Would it be the Observer? Which would be the version of the Magician from the Enneagram. I know this probably doesn't make a lot of sense to people who haven't studied these kind of things, but I know I do. So I'm a nerd, so sorry. In any event, the Magician is the thinker. The Observer is the thinker as well. They observe other people, look at their habits, and then they're the planner, they're their schemer, they're that thing. Sometimes when they're a heel, they're called the trickster. They play mind games with people. They mislead you. They like illusions and all that different stuff. And it makes perfect sense because Edge is one of those people too. Everything with Edge is a mind game. When they did the bar in the mouth with the Usos and Roman Reigns, and they had them all side by side. That was the mental game of them telling you about, hey, this is what Edge is capable of, and him making the Usos show fear, and all these sorts of things. But that's a long stretch of time for Edge to have, been a similar character. But he wasn't always this way, of course, because when he talks about going all the way back to the Brood and everything, he really didn't have much of a personality. He didn't have much of a character. The sort of cerebral nature, I should say, of Edge was kind of born out of his master manipulator sort of gimmick. And actually kind of born a little bit out of his whole thing with Matt Hardy. But, I don't know. I don't think they probably go back to that, because I know that he has, along with Matt and everybody was uncomfortable with that whole ordeal. But Seth Rollins has always been sort of playing the mental game too. The architect, the thinker, the planner, that sort of thing, the visionary, the messiah, being able to see the big picture, observing other people, knowing their weaknesses and being able to take advantage of it. But we're talking about two guys who say, I'm not who I used to be, or leaning onto who they used to be. And Seth Rollins is basically saying that, he's not as nice now as he used to be. That back in the past, there was probably no need to bust up Edge's neck. But now, now that Edge is back full time, he might have to put Edge down permanently. So while in the past there was no need to stomp Edge's neck, now there is. And now he feels like, I can do that. It shouldn't be a problem. I'm going to stomp your neck. I'm going to put you down for good. Which, Seth Rollins put Sting down for good. Well, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't have said that. He also put Finn Balor down for a little while. Shouldn't have said that either. And Edge is basically saying, this is who I used to be. I'm the most sadistic, you talk about mental games. I'm the most sadistic. I'm the most manipulative. And he tried that with Roman, and now he's going to try it with Seth. Seth is not quite on his level, not quite that level of success, but, it will be great to watch. It'd be like two guys playing chess. That's how it should be. With the mental games between these two characters, where, Seth has this mocking laugh that he's doing to everybody, which is aggravating as hell, and actually does its job very well, because it's a very aggravating laugh. And he's basically taunting Edge, saying, hey, I know your weakness. Your weakness is your neck. I could have done it then. I didn't. Now I am. And Edge has to know that Seth's weakness. And, Seth's weakness is probably going to be his ego. And I think I talked about this when his feud with Cesaro, when he was being swung, and he was very upset and very humiliated that he was being swung by Cesaro, because it was, it's a fear of losing control. I came up with this thing the other day. It was like, there's only two types of fears. There's fears of losing control and fears of being under control. So the fear of losing control is like the fear of falling. Like when you fall, you have no control over what's happening. If you jump off a building, like that's one of the scariest things in the world to me, is like fall off of a building. Because you can't grab anything, you can't think, you're not in control anymore, gravity's taken over. But then the other is to be under control. So that's also very scary to me, is to be like trapped in a vice. Like imagine being like in the back of a trash can or something, and that thing is just closing in on you, and there's nothing you can do, and you can't fight it, you can't kick it, it's just closing. And when you think about things from that perspective, you have a guy like Seth Rollins who, when he was being swung by Cesaro, he was losing control. He didn't have control over himself. That was very humiliating. That was very scary. And that damaged his ego and it sent him into a rage. He tried to kill Cesaro. So I would think that the ego would be Seth Rollins' weakness. And that will probably be where we see Edge start to attack. Now, in what way? I don't know. So like that's the kind of the question that maybe we're going to try to do a whole Edge is going to have to try to create some more fear into Rollins, and maybe it'd probably be built around the spear. Maybe it'd be built around something else. But that seems to be the chess move there. Is that we already know Seth Rollins' plan. We already know his game like a real bad guy from a movie. He's telling you what he plans to do. He wants to stomp his neck. Edge, however, like a good hero, is probably going to outthink Seth Rollins and maybe even use that against him, knowing that he wants to stomp his neck. Maybe even leave himself open to being stomped every now and again, just to see if Seth is going to do it. And maybe that will be what gets Seth hoisted upon his own petard, as they say, petard, as they say. But this is a great feud. I love this. Is going to be an awesome match. I know Edge's matches have been a little long. Like, he's decided to come back and start having marathon matches. Like, I don't think Match has had a match under 20 minutes other than a 6-man tag or something since he's came back. This match needs a solid 15 to 20, and it's good. You don't need to go a half hour. It doesn't need to be, Barry Windham and Ric Flair. It doesn't need to be that. It doesn't need to be an hour. Okay. You can be able to get this thing done pretty fast. But I'm really going to be enjoying the storyline between the two and the interplay between the two characters because they're so similar. At least from a character perspective, they're very similar. And I really want to see how they intend to weaken Rollins. Like, of course, he's going to beat him up, because Edge beat him up on SmackDown. Let's talk about that for a minute. Before I was just about to wrap it up, but I didn't like Rollins. The windmill punches that he was given to Edge at one point. I was just like, I've never seen a set of faker punches in a match, in a fight segment. Those windmill punches when he was like, ay, on his back. I was like, oh no. 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 No, he was windmill punching. Like, no. No. But whatever, man. I did not like that. I did not like the windmill punches that Seth Rollins was throwing. But the fight segment itself was fine. I'm interested in seeing where it goes from here and what kind of mind games they will intend to play on one another. And to me, that's the interesting stuff. Not really the physicality. The physicality will come in the match, and then the match is going to tell its own story. But the story of the match should tell the story that they've been telling. So they've already set it up. And I don't think that this should only be one story going into the match, one through line. And if it's only going to be, can Edge protect his neck, this probably won't be all that interesting. So it's got to be something for Edge, who is also a mental chess player, to create within Rollins. And that ought to be the fun thing, is seeing what Edge decides to do in order to agitate Rollins and get Rollins off of his game. So I'm looking forward to that. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Like this video, share this video, subscribe to the channel, donate to the channel, and I'll talk to you guys later.
Skin tone, so why attach yourself and piggyback the wealth you didn't earn or lack yourself? I'm telling you to own up to your own success and failures. It's a reason why these sleazy guys